Good morning, welcome to TERRA at Home. We're here with Sumati and we're at our potting bench area here in our store, and we're talking about these interesting little gardens that we can make that I'm not sure who exactly lives in these gardens because they're so tiny, but
you seldom see them.
Right, right. They just kind of come out at night maybe, but these are really actually quite a nice idea. So they are living gardens.
They're living gardens. Mm-hmm. We have a great collection of pieces to make miniature gardens. Mm-hmm. So anytime, any place you want to do that, it can be a fun, small project mm-hmm. that you can do indoors with the kids before the weather's warm enough to get outside, mm-hmm. and they transition to outdoors really well. Mm-hmm. So all these pieces include anything from houses to the kind of furniture you'd have outdoors, garden furniture, mm-hmm. wheelbarrows, planted, sidewalks, paths, hedges, and from there you just find what other live materials mm-hmm. you want to use, which vessel you want to use, interesting colors. So we really sell all those pieces that you need to do it, and it can be a gardening project at the same time.
It is pretty neat. So literally you are taking what you would look at as your garden, your big life-size garden, and shrinking it down. And actually sometimes this is easier because some things you know, in a big full-size garden, you know, you can, it takes years for that plant life to grow to that, you know.
Maybe it's even a planning project for what you want to do in your garden outside.
This is your, and eventually you bring it to scale, right? But yeah, just why not, right? And you were saying as well, you know, this is great for seniors as well, who, you know, maybe don't have that garden anymore that they used to have at their home, and now they're, you know, either in a residence or apartment, and this is a great way to still have a garden and still kind of live through that world and again,
it can be changeable. Sure. It can be more permanent. So whatever your yen is with mm-hmm. gardening, something more permanent like a larger terrarium, mm-hmm. they actually have ventilation in them, so they're perfect mm-hmm. for use indoors with larger, more permanent plants, the big glass house one. There. Mm-hmm. And you know, the other trays can be something that sits on the table. They're portable mm-hmm. too, so they can move to any room you need or want, or for the light that you need, mm-hmm. And very changeable. Of course, you know, if you get tired of how it looks, you can change up the plants, change the whole thing.
That's really fun. And again, you're talking about the different pieces. If we look at the glass enclosed one, again, like look at that little house in there. Like that's amazing. So you're setting the scene of almost like in some ways little English cottages and mm-hmm. old, you know, European properties, and how beautiful you can make with little like a two-piece set, you know, chair set outside. And as you mentioned, the wheelbarrow. Like it's really quite amazing what you can do.
It's true. This is just a smaller selection of what we have, but everything from garden benches mm-hmm. to
like you can see them all packaged here.
That's right. Bistro sets, pergolas, metal arches for the garden, and all very much relative scale too, so that you know you're not having things that are oversized and funny looking, but also pieces like the looking like a water garden there, so that you know mm-hmm. you certainly could take it to the point of putting that real element in, but there are pieces there that let you do something that looks like a little pool or a water garden in there.
And you have one in here. I don't know if we can actually catch it on camera.
It's a little tricky.
The pool is hidden back in there, but there is a little pool down in there, and so this has actually created quite a neat little haven. And this is actually a heavy little piece. This is solid. This is not blown away anywhere. But this is so cute. We have a little lantern, and we have, again, you have all these what would take years to grow on your property.
Right. It's fun because you can do it, you know, there and the scale is all you need to think of. So another fun thing to do would be to have a kitchen windowsill herb garden where, you know, the parsley is your bushes, the rosemary is a tree in the miniature garden. So fun projects for kids, or you just want to have something a little bit more fun on your window ledge.
Yeah, that's a nice idea, and the kids would love this stuff, right? Because then you can, you know, again, invite the little garden fairies to come out, and this is their home. This is where they live, right?
We sell all of the home pieces. We don't sell any fairies.
We don't
because
sell fairies. Oh.
This is you're inviting them to the space.
Right, I see. So I don't know what fairies eat, but you can incorporate that in there too. But I do like the ideas you said about the herb garden, and even just throwing in like just a little chair, or even something very simple.
Something comfortable, a nice inviting place for them to come and hang out.
And visit.
Seldom see them.
You have all kinds of really bright colors too. If you want to get really adventurous, like colorful rocks and all kinds of great ideas.
Imagination is the limit. So even like this wooden vessel too, the colored sands. Cool. You can really use as much or as little of these as you like, and it's a matter of what is your taste? So maybe you want something that's more of a Zen garden and with one little bench in there. Lots of different ways to use it, and things that will transition to outdoors. So, you know, if it's something where your thumb is less green maybe than another, you don't have to put all live plants in there. We have some there with mosses, some small tropicals, and these can translate and quickly be changed out too. So
I love that idea.
as much or as little effort and permanence, if you like, to them as you like.
Yeah, and in some ways this is way more cost effective sometimes than landscaping your whole front of your house. You can have so much fun. But the little stone paths and the little hedges, again, some of them are, you know, they're not real, but then you can add the real life to them.
That's right.
So
we have some that are like little pavers, just like you would buy interlock stones to do your own garden. And then of course we sell the smaller bags of loose stone as well. So so many options. It really is your imagination that would limit you and nothing more. Fun for kids and adults.
And as you're saying, it's the different type of vessels too. As we look around and the styles that we have here, lots of different options and ideas. Great for gifts, great for maybe putting something together for mom or grandma for Mother's Day. Some really
and a lot of options. So different depths of containers. You can you know, you mentioned this one is bigger, deeper. Maybe better suited to some slightly larger plant material in it.
You have soil down in
yes,
in there.
yes. This one has soil underneath, and these are planted in. We have more shallow containers that would be less permanent for plants, but certainly work exactly like we have one up here as an example. With less live material doesn't mean it needs to look less like a real garden, though.
True enough, right? And some of the stuff is so realistic looking. Now, something like this as well, these terrariums, I have one at home, and it is fun to actually change out the different types of, some are just, you know, cactus or succulents, different types of succulents, and it's amazing what you can do. And you don't have to be stuck with just that.
It doesn't have to stay the way it is when it's planted. So something good to note is that these kind of pieces, they let you take the lid off so that when you do get humidity buildup inside the terrarium, you can let it breathe a little bit. Depending on how skilled you are and adept you are at the terrarium, you'll know when you want to let some of that humidity out and when you need to keep it in. It depends on the plant materials you choose as well.
Exactly, and it depends on the climate and the time of the year, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Now, I think what's great too is that we all have always, all of our little elves here at TERRA always put together some amazing potted plants and arrangements that are already done. So if you don't feel so keen to sit down and spend some hours on that, you can actually buy one of those and then maybe grab a couple of these and throw them in there.
They're a tiny little add-on, and there's very little change that you need to make, right? So a little bit of space in the side, maybe one plant comes out, leaves room to add those pieces in. Fun for Mother's Day gifts.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, and I can see actually little kids grabbing some of these, like these little sets here that we have with the table and chairs, and you can make your own little, just go find your little spot in the garden in
it's
the
something
summer.
they can make, right? And surprise,
and
look what I've done.
With or without a container at all, right? Good stuff. Thank you so much, Sumati. And again, just another idea of figuring out how to bring plant life into your life. We can do it and invite the fairies. We'll be back with more TERRA at Home.
Live color fully at TERRA, where color lives.
Heritage perennials. Look for us in the blue pots.
Good morning, welcome back to TERRA at Home. We're at a Different Drummer Books here with Ian, and this is your place, this beautiful...
Yes, it is. Welcome, Leslie.
Awesome, thank you so much. This cozy, great place. I've been in here many times over the years, and it's been a while. And it's amazing to me how long you've been in business.
Yes, the store was founded in 1970, actually in a smaller building down the street. This building was taken over, it was a family dwelling in 1975. It took several months of work with a crew and an architect, and they created this an early sort of example of open concept retail space, which is
It's
what we're in
great. It's so
presently.
perfect, right? Because there's something about it's very indicative of what people are looking for when they're reading a book. It's that sort of that cozy, inviting, warm space, great lighting, and I can imagine sometimes people just come here and just hang out and
Oh yes, yeah.
enjoy their
people,
time.
People will spend entire sections of days or entire days here.
you're like, we're closing up, time to go. But how
no
great is
one's
that?
ever shooed off the premises.
Isn't that nice? I know. I can just imagine. And really, I mean, it is levels of
Yes.
every genre of book you can imagine, right?
Yes, pretty much everything available in print. Fiction, nonfiction, art history, philosophy, business, religion. We have a sizable children's area too. It occupies most of the second floor.
Yes, which is great, right? And I know I love buying books for my son, and I've continued to buy books, and I think it's really helped him being in grade 1. He's just an avid reader already.
It's wonderful to hear.
And it really, it's very special, right, to have that instilled in your children at such a young age. And
I
it's
agree.
it's escape for a lot of people, right? When as adults, it seems to be that one thing you hear people say, "Oh, I got myself a good book," and the best thing is when you have yourself a great book.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's really rewarding to be a part of that.
Now, over the years and the history that you've had here, you have developed, even before your time, as you said, a book series. And
Yes, we do many literary events in and around town, but probably the longest running series we call simply our Book and Author series. Presently, this happens over at the Burlington Golf and Country Club, which is where it began in 1975.
wow, and again, when we look at Burlington from way back then, that was the old original Burlington that so many people were familiar with, and it's so neat to hang on to some of those special moments, right?
Yeah, the store has a lot of tradition, a lot of local lore and momentum behind it as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the series, and 9 different authors?
That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
3 sessions, 3 authors at each session.
Okay, so 3 different dates.
That's right. This upcoming series is April 27, May 19, and June 8. Among the authors appearing, Guy Vanderhaeg, Governor General's Award-winning author, Joy Fielding, who's publishing her 25th novel this season, a local brilliant novelist, Kim Eshlin, and Elizabeth Abbott, who's an academic who's written a superlative book about dogs, and Rosemary Sullivan, a historian who's has written a book about Stalin's daughter.
Wow. So I mean, we're so many, right? And
Yes.
people can find out more information about the event now. You know, even as we speak, it's possible that it could be sold out in any moment. So
That's right. The series has an enormous following, and
right.
Tickets can be hard to come by.
And that's the thing, right? With and especially, you know, if you are an avid reader, sometimes you just like to open up your mind to a new genre as well, right? So really, some people are looking forward to it, and you have another one in the fall as well.
That's right. Yeah.
And as you say, so many different events.
And it's a hallmark of the series that it is a variety of literary forms
Right.
and authors
Right.
and disciplines and interests.
Exactly. So that, and then that again, that's what opens it up to so many people, right? So what a great event that is. And again, obviously in store here, people can find out more events that you have.
Oh
on
yes,
a
we
regular basis.
will. If you come and see us, we'll tell you all about them. We also have a website, differentdrummerbooks.ca, where we post everything we're up to as well.
Great. Now let's talk a little bit about it is spring, and as we move from spring into summer, people really want to get that time where they start to, you know, to move and get maybe some quiet time away. If they start to go towards the cottage for the weekend, and they want to have a good book. And you have some picks for some new hot picks for spring.
There's some wonderful books out this season, as there is, but it's a rich season, and we've selected a few that we might tell you about here.
Okay.
The first one I'll reach for here is Helen Humphrey's book, The Evening Chorus. It's a story of the Second World War and the aftermath. It is a curious circumstance. It brings in elements of the natural world as well. Very exceptional circumstances in a prisoner of war camp, and a human drama that plays out in the years afterward.
Okay.
And it's exquisite writing. It's very involving and moving. It's just a marvelous novel.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. And next.
Also, in a sort of naturalist vein, we have H is for Hawk. This book was an extraordinary success in the UK last fall. It's been slow to appear in Canada. It won the Samuel Johnson Prize, prestigious literary prize in the UK last November, I believe it was. It is a very surprising book. It's a very unusual book. It's a book about bereavement. A young woman loses her father, and she, through the discipline of falconry, she finds a way to sustain herself emotionally through the process. And her relationship with the bird she acquires is just fascinating.
Interesting. And again, as you say, if you look at what that's about, clearly the author has done something very special to bring that to life.
Oh, it's certainly in this case, yeah.
So, because one would say, oh, I don't know, but that sounds...
it's an absolutely riveting book to read.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I think, we really do need to touch on this one, because this is one you're saying that you really, really enjoyed. We have a copy of it here, actually, right?
Yeah, actually, this is a book that goes back a few months, but it won the Charles Taylor Prize earlier this year, and it's a very deserved, in my opinion. It's a really refreshing read. It's a situation that's familiar to those of us of a certain age. And it's a local story too. It's a very well-known family and very well-known home in Oakville.
Ah, Oakville. I remember you mentioning it was local, so it is Oakville. Okay.
Yeah, a large house, 50 years of acquisitions, some of them very, very peculiar. It's in part about Plum, and the author's name is Plum Johnson, and she's a very, very lovely lady, a gifted writer as well. It's about her process of dealing with all those possessions, all those acquisitions.
Yes.
It's one of the things very surprising about it to me was how very funny it was.
Go figure, right? Considering it's it's kids, grown-up kids going through their families' items over the years.
And what is indeed kept. In fact, the irony is right there in the title. They left us everything. Everything. But it's beautifully written, beautifully marshaled too. The book sort of gathers poignancy as you read through, and it's very, very moving without losing any of the humor toward the end as well. I love that. How great is that? And again, as everyone's looking for a good book, as you say, and what I love about coming here as well is that if you don't have it in here, you'll find it and you'll bring it in for people. Special orders, we're delighted
that a lot,
to those.
Don't you?
Yes,
yes, and that's one thing you've been known for over the years. So thank you for allowing us to come into this space.
Oh,
a great spot. Can we stay here for hours too, just like everybody else?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Very good stuff. Thank you. We'll be back with more Terra at Home right after this.
Live color fully at Terra, where color lives.
You've sat under them and built forts in them. You've swung from them and fell out of them. You've even fallen in love under them. Trees have always held a special place in our hearts and memories. A natural beauty, trees will grow with you and your family and bring color and nature into your world. For your assurance of quality, look for trees and shrubs with the Medallion plant tag. Medallion plants, locally grown, the pride of Niagara.
Good morning, welcome back to Terra at Home. We're back with Chef Mark from La Piazza Allegra restaurant in Hamilton, and what are we making today? Because we have a whole lot of ingredients in front of us.
Yeah, we're doing something a little bit different here. So, I mean, you're starting off in the springtime. You want to maybe start barbecuing, doing some things a little bit lighter, stuff like that. But, you know, winter's still tagging along. So I thought what we'd do is we'll work on a slider, but we're going to do it a little bit different. What we have here is we have some crab. Now, you could do it with pork belly, or you could do it with bacon. I prefer pork belly, so this is the stuff that we cure in the restaurant. So I have pork belly, I have some white aged cheddar, we have some leeks, we have a carrot over there, we have eggs and breadcrumb, and then what we're going to do is we're going to turn it into little slider patties. And we're going to put some panko breadcrumbs and we're going to coat that.
Okay.
And we did this really cool little topping here. I just got some Savoy cabbage. I got it soaking in a little bit of white vinegar. We're going to add some salt and pepper, and then I have a little bit of a spiced mayonnaise that I already have.
these
We're going to
look
mix it in.
good.
And we're going to make a little
Cool
sliders.
combination of flavors. All right, I like this. This
Yeah.
is different than your average burger slider, right?
It is. It is.
Okay.
You know, getting away from that ground beef or the pork or whatever you normally
Yes,
do
exactly.
or chicken. So yeah, a little bit different.
Okay.
And you know what? The combination between the cheese, the crab, and the pork really, really works well
That's what
together.
I'm thinking. I would have necessarily thought to put those all together. So
It
this could be
goes
good.
over. It's
all right.
really good.
So you've already put it together as
I put it
should
together.
be. So let's go
Correct.
maybe through some of the steps that you did.
Sure. So what we have, like I said, we have those ingredients. Now I'm going to show you what I would do if I was cutting this. Now it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
What I like about pork belly is that you can slice it as thick or as thin as you want.
Right.
Okay. So for this, what we were doing is I was taking the cheese and I was cutting it like this, and then cutting it into smaller chunks.
Okay.
So you can leave it larger if you want. The only thing is when you leave chunks a little bit larger, it's harder to form the patties.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Right, they'll just be all falling out of it. and-
Exactly.
Right.
Now, you don't necessarily want to shred it either because you do want to have those little chunks of cheese in the patty. So when you bite into it, you get a little bit of cheese. And this is a really nice white aged cheddar.
You need to have that to get the real flavor
need that
too,
sharpness,
right?
yeah.
I find sometimes any type of burger, sometimes the cheese is so mild. What's the point of even having it on there?
Exactly.
Right? You can't taste
Have
it.
something that, you know, everything that you want to do, everything we're going to put in here is going to have a bit of a punch to it.
All right.
So again, you can use bacon. I prefer the pork belly
Mm-hmm.
on this, and that's because we do our own dry rub on that. And
Mm.
what's nice about it is if you do pork belly yourself and you put that dry rub on and you just cure it a little bit, then you have bacon for the whole year. You just cut them into the sections you want and vac pack them and freeze them.
Good idea.
And then again, you can cut it as thick or as thin as you want.
I like that idea because a lot of times it may seem like a bit more work at the beginning of it all,
Mm-hmm.
but as you say, the convenience in the end, it's saving you tons of time and it saves you money too.
And the other thing is too, I mean, if you look at this, the bacon that we're using here, the pork belly we're using here, look, you can see how much meat is running through that as
Yes.
opposed to fat.
Yes.
You know, so we get to pick the pieces that you want when you go to your butcher, and you don't end up with just all fat,
Right.
which you get out of the bacon. The other thing is too, the rub that I put on ours is very savory. There's no sweet.
Aha.
Okay, so I'm avoiding that sweet flavor that
Right.
if you use bacon,
that
you can
wouldn't
maple
necessarily
or-
work in this at all.
I
Right? I
mean,
can see that.
Bacon is bacon. It goes pretty much with everything.
Sure.
But
as you say, you can add you're giving yourself a lot of flavor in your own
That's right.
choice. So
That's
it's
right.
Gives you options. That's nice. I like
Exactly.
that. Looks good.
So we have that, and then this is just crab meat, and you can find this at your grocery store. You just have to take it. It's normally in the frozen section, thawed,
Okay.
and then you want to drain it.
So is it? So it's in the frozen section, like in a bag type thing?
And
or-
normally in a can or,
I was
or
gonna
in a
say,
little
is-
plastic container or something
Okay,
like that. But they're
that's. I
frozen
was thinking
solid.
there was can too, but it's
Yeah.
frozen as well, even if it's in a can.
That's right. That's right.
okay.
So you want to thaw it, drain it, just put it in a wire sieve, let it all the moisture out of it. Now what
Okay.
you're going to do is you're going to crack a couple eggs in there. So we sliced the leek, we sliced the carrot up, we threw it in there, we cracked some eggs, then we put some breadcrumb. And the amount of breadcrumb you put in is really going to vary depending on how much moisture is in here. So if you've drained it really, really well, you probably won't need that much.
Right.
If it's got a little bit of moisture to it, just add some breadcrumb to it, and then it'll
Okay.
dry it up and form.
That
And the
makes
only
sense.
way that you'll be able to tell whether or not you have the right amount is when you start forming it.
Right. So it's either going to be very wet.
That's right.
Consistency. So at that point, obviously, you're just going to be adding more breadcrumb,
Breadcrumb,
and
yeah.
then if it's too dry, it's going to fall apart.
Yep, so then you just add another egg, add a little bit of moisture that way to it,
Okay.
and that'll also help it bind,
Okay.
and then it'll help form as well.
So in the amount that you have there, how many eggs did you put in? Just one?
in this one here,
Yeah.
this was 2 eggs in this
That
one.
was 2 eggs
about
in that one.
yeah.
Okay, so it just gives you a basic
Yeah,
idea of what
for this one. But we did drain this really, really well.
Right.
So we put it in a wire sieve, we let it sit for about 6 to 8 hours, and then we press it down as
Okay.
well, and then that really
and that's the
squeezes
thing,
out.
from a chef's perspective, you guys tend to take the time to do that stuff. At home, people are like, I am not sitting around and waiting unless you're, you're planning the day before or
That's
something
right.
like that, right? So, okay, good advice.
Yeah.
All right, so now what's the next step?
So, got it all mixed in, you're gonna season it with salt and pepper,
Yep.
okay? And then it's a matter of forming them.
Okay.
And then when you form them, you want to do something about the size of your bun. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I tend to like them to be a little bit thicker, a little bit larger than the bun themselves, too.
That's always nice.
You know,
right?
there's nothing worse than having all this bread and you have this little
No.
protein in the middle.
No,
so
if you're gonna go and have something like this, you want to be able to taste that. not the bread.
exactly, exactly. And you're not going to get a lot of it. Unlike beef and stuff like that, it's not going to shrink a lot.
All right.
Okay. So we form one. We're going to do 3 of them here.
Okay.
And you can see how it's holding on its own now, so we know that we have the right mixture in there,
Yes.
the right amount of breadcrumbs, the right amount of egg.
Now, what kind of oil are you going to be frying these in?
This one is going to be done in grapeseed oil.
Grapeseed oil. Okay.
Now, I like frying in grapeseed oil, real high smoking point.
Right.
It's still a healthy oil to use, and it's a little bit more foolproof. You don't have to worry so much about, catching on fire and stuff like that.
Okay,
which
that's always
is
good.
Yeah. You know, I always tell
tend
the
to do
home
that in my
chef,
kitchen.
the home cook, you know, if you're doing a lot of frying, buy the grapeseed oil. It's a little bit more money,
Right.
but you know what? In the long run,
It's
it
worth
saves
it.
your house.
Right.
You get distracted.
Yeah,
you don't have to
when
worry
you're,
too much
you know,
about
your
it.
cupboards go up pretty quickly. So.
They do. They do.
So with something like this, I mean, obviously we know seafood cooks really quickly, but we're looking at something like bacon inside of here. So how long are these going to take?
What we're going to do is we're going to fry them up, and then we're going to throw them into the oven to finish them off, and that'll warm them
okay.
all the way through. So
That
you're
way
probably
you're
looking at about
getting-
5 or 7 minutes.
Okay. So I guess the frying part's going to help really give them some good flavor and
Yep.
crisp up the outside.
And it's going to crisp up the outside. That's right.
Okay,
And we're going to take that now. So there's our 3, and we have these panko breadcrumbs. And this will give a nice crust to it as well.
I see. So you have breadcrumbs inside of them, but then you're also going to coat them with them.
And then I'm just coating them,
Ah,
and they'll
nice.
fall off. But like
Sure.
we're just looking
Just
for
a
a little
little-
bit of a crust on that, and
I
that's
like
it.
that. That's going to be good. Awesome.
So you want to heat up your oil, and
Okay.
the way to check your oil is you put a wooden spoon into it.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're not familiar on how to check oil, you put a wooden spoon into oil. If you see bubbles form around it, then you know it's ready to fry in.
All right, very good. That's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and finish this up.
Live color fully at TERRA, where color lives.
The Hamilton Spectator. At work, at home, or on the go. Read us online, in print, or download us to your e-reader. Get the Hamilton Spectator any way you want it.
Good morning. Welcome back to Terra at Home. We're back with Chef Mark, and look at our wonderful little crab.
Crab bacon cheddar sliders.
Sliders. They look
Yeah.
so good. They smell amazing.
Yeah, they're really nice. Like I said, it's a little bit, it's an introduction into spring.
Right.
We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there.
Question
So,
for you: why do they call them sliders anyway?
I have no idea.
No?
No clue. We can make
I
up
always
something
wondered
right now.
about that.
I don't know. I don't
It's
know.
just, you see them in the tiniest little versions now. Like they have the smallest little ones sometimes, which are like little bites, but
Yeah.
they're still called sliders. So
Yeah,
as
I-
long as they're not a full-size burger, they're called a slider.
Apparently.
To get our
I
craft
like
research team on this.
Mini burgers.
Okay.
So we have
All
a
right.
spiced mayonnaise.
Yes.
So I'm going to put that on both sides of the bun. And then, like I said, I took some Savoy cabbage and I just put a little bit of white vinegar into that to help it wilt down just slightly, add a little bit of acidity to it because, of course, you have the crab and a little bit of acidity and you have the fat of that. It'll offset
Sure.
and balance
Okay.
out really well. So I'm going to take a little bit of salt and I'm going to mix it in there,
Okay.
a little bit of pepper. And then we're going to
Put these guys
assemble.
together. Just a reminder, as Chef Mark's putting these together, that you can find awesome recipes on our website at terragreenhouses.com. So always good to, again, you're watching it and you're like, well, I missed a few ingredients, so you can go on and check it out.
There we go.
These look good, and that's going to just give it a really nice texture too.
Yeah, it does. Gives it a little
great.
bit of a nice texture,
Have
nice
fun.
flavor, and it's a little bit different, you know? It's a little bit
And
different.
it makes you realize the warmer weather
Is coming.
This is good.
And then we have some pea shoots, and I'm going to add that, and that'll give it a
nice.
nice little bit of a spring as well.
Yeah. Sure signs of spring.
Sure signs.
Looks good. It makes it look pretty too when you put that stuff on. Thank
People
you, Chef
eat with
Mark.
their eyes first.
All right, I'll let you put one on the plate so that we can make it look good before we end the show. Dun, da, da, da. Looks awesome. Those are good. I'm eating all of them. Nobody's getting any. Thank you so much. That's it for now. Have yourself a great weekend.